Good evening, or good afternoon, good morning, podcast listeners. It is me, Chris, one of your co-hosts of Do You Expect Us to Talk, and as you can guess when you hear my rambly voice, we're doing commentaries, and it's a kind of a special one. Yes, woohoo for Becca. It's a kind of a special one. It's our 100th episode we're doing, so.
If you don't count certain episodes in the total, yes.
Yes, I mean we are. This is a preemptive.
Episode 100.
Yeah, this is a preemptive recording, so just in case anything like major happens and we don't reference it.
Yeah. This is 100. We do not count Christmas episodes because they're bonuses, and we don't count any sort of charity casts or anything. But this is episode 100 of the numbered episodes.
This is the big one, 007.
Did we count the initial Spectre review?
Yes.
So that was numbered, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm thinking,
Yes.
when we come to Last Jedi, we're gonna have to think about when we release that. But it might be worthwhile to kind of like leave it like a week or two, just to like let thoughts sink.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried.
But yeah, we've got another trilogy of films to cover between that and then. So
I was going to say we may not be able to do it immediately anyway. It might be something we record after a couple of viewings and put out in the schedule when we can. But we will figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. So so tonight's film is a Sean classic. It is
Shaun the Sheep.
Yes.
Shaun the Sheep.
I've never watched episodes of Shaun the Sheep. Then again, I'm not a 5. Or parents, so there we are.
Yeah.
Surely you've seen Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace or Gromit.
Wallace or Gromit.
They're never on screen together.
Wallace and or Gromit.
I've seen Gromit. I'm not sure about Wallace. Which one's a dog? I actually don't know.
Oh.
That's how much I don't know.
Gromit's the dog.
Oh, okay. I always think that stuff's overrated. I don't get what the big...
Oh, it's
Well,
I don't know.
charming
People just seem to like fall
always
themselves
the
over
most
it, think it's like genius. I'm like,
It's
thinking,
British
yeah,
made as well.
It's all right.
I mean, I don't know what you have and haven't watched, Chris, but The Wrong Trousers is brilliant.
It's actually, that's a classic.
I mean, A Grand Day Out's nothing special. A Matter of Loaf and Death is nothing that special.
But The Wrong Trousers is properly
But The
hilarious.
Wrong Trousers is brilliant, and A Close Shave is close behind.
Hence, Shaun the Sheep.
Is it a close shave between the two?
It is a close shave between the two. So those are both good. And the feature one was pretty good as well, Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Which I haven't
Yeah, I
seen.
quite enjoyed that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. On the big screen, you can see all the finger marks moving around on them. It's really cool.
You can, unfortunately. But it's very good.
Well, that's good. I quite like that. I mean, it's not like it's meant to be like photorealistic humans, is it?
Plasticine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you see sort of like marks on film as well. It gives it authenticity.
Yeah.
Like cigarette burns and things like that.
Yeah, kind of. It almost feels like it's a lived-in thing, you know.
Yeah.
But there you are. So yeah.
Favourite moments from the first 100 episodes, folks.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
We talked about Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie.
So I'm just
It's
thinking
not
about.
Lionel Blair, that's alright.
I can just imagine the scenario where like there'll be like a ton of humour stuff that we could like reference in the 100 episodes that we don't know yet because we've not recorded it. So a ton of stuff like Back to the Future.
I was at one point considering putting together like a clip show, and then I realised I really couldn't be asked.
Yeah,
I was gonna edit together like the best minute or two from each episode, but that would have meant listening to them all.
Yeah, well,
except the handful where I really know.
Or you could just like splice together like the teaser trailers of each episode, and you can...
Oh god, epic.
Well, that's already they are already on. You've got basically there are the playlists are on YouTube, and there's a playlist of teasers and shows for each series. But there is also like a master teaser playlist, so you can start at. We didn't start till For Your Eyes Only, so you can run from For Your Eyes Only right the way through like Back to the Future 3, and they're all there. So
So there
enjoy,
you go.
folks.
You enjoy the best of going on.
The best of Do You Expect Us to Talk?
Normally the best of the first 45 minutes of an episode because I go, do that's a trailer.
We don't spoil the
It's all
ending, do you,
gold.
really?
No. Well, the thing is as well, I try not to put the absolute funniest bit in the trailer as well.
Yeah.
Because I just like to give people a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, not like
Yeah.
movies do where they just throw all the best stuff in there and...
Yeah. Well, it's
What
like
did I see?
I started with For Your Eyes Only, and I didn't put in like all the fucking Max the Parrot shit. When we were killing ourselves recording that.
Give us a kiss.
When I put in the putting the anti-theft bomb on the car and
Anti-theft
stuff.
bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, the 1980s.
Yeah.
I did see online somebody had edited out Max the Parrot and Thatcher from For Your Eyes Only. So kudos to whoever did that.
Yeah.
Why would
Did
they
they
do
edit
that?
Timothy Dalton in?
No. Not so much. But Thatcher wasn't in it, so that's a bonus.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
he didn't change history. I mean, it's just a clip in a film. And it wasn't really Thatcher. It's not like he's fixed it so Callahan won the 79 election. It doesn't make that much difference, really.
No, it just looks very stylish, you know. It ends on like a nice note rather than
Does-
Max the Parrot going, give us a kiss.
Would he go all the efforts into working on the Iron Lady? That'd be just like a blank screen.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
nothing for an hour and a half.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Iron Lady, but I'm assuming at some point Kinnock gets up and asks a question and no one answers it.
Oh,
And then Dennis fights thin air.
oh.
And a bunch of old Tory politicians there, talking at something that isn't there.
Yeah. And then right near the end of the film, Heseltine plots to bring down no one at all.
Erases it from history. Oh dear.
Yeah. And it's just called The Iron.
The iron, that's it.
The Iron Blank.
Okay, what are we doing tonight then, Chris?
Oh yeah, if you haven't mentioned, we are doing a Sean classic.
Oh shit, we got a film to watch.
Good night,
A
folks.
Sean classic. So it's The Man That Would Be King.
I've not seen that. I really need to watch that.
It's not The Untouchables, is it?
I've
No.
got a feeling it's on Netflix, actually. It is on one of the streaming services, that film.
Yeah.
Can't remember if it's that or Amazon.
The services are available.
Well,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really,
well-
not in this country. Other services are available if you emigrate.
If you're in the UK, but if you emigrate,
Well, not if you're Netflix.
Lucky you.
Netflix is pretty much everywhere. So
Well, no, but I'm saying we've only really got Netflix and Amazon of those sort
Yeah,
of
Hulu, you know, unless you make a
we
quick
haven't,
trip.
we haven't got Hulu.
no.
no, we've got Now TV.
Unless you use a VPN or something.
But yeah, they're principally the main ones, really.
They've got all the Bond films on there in 4K. Hulu, I think.
Have they now?
Yeah.
We should have
swanky.
Hulu, like HBO and things like that. But it's licensing, though, isn't it?
But yeah, HBO's got an arrangement with Sky, so that's
Yeah,
that.
it'll be on, probably be on Sky. Because obviously Sky had the Bond movies for a while. I think when Skyfall came out? Or when Spectre
I'm
came out?
Ron Burgundy.
I can't remember what I was thinking, so really high-pitched. Fuck you, San Diego? No.
Welcome to Sky 007, where you can watch a Bond film.
So we've been recording for like near to like 9 minutes, and listeners don't even know what we're watching yet. We just know it's a Sean classic.
Tonight did
We've
this
announced
for
that
100th
3 or 4
episode.
times. Okay, well, we can tell you what it isn't, because we've already covered Goldfinger and... what else have we covered of Sean?
You only live twice.
Oh, You Only Live Twice, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
neither
It's not
of
either of
those.
those.
So we've
Chris,
yet,
tell us what it is.
we've yet to cover Diamonds.
We will.
We'll get there.
I got so sick of that by the time we got to review. Doctor No, Flusher of Love, and what's the other one?
Thunderball? Well, it's
Thunderball.
clearly not Thunderball if you don't know which the other one is. It's like,
It's kind of weird. I thought I've never seen
really
Never Again.
building up the tension there. Well, listeners, it's one of the following. this one, or what's the other one called? It's not that then, is it?
No. You know the funny thing is though, I actually thought I'd never seen Never Again before. I actually thought of Thunderball. It's like you know that random non-canon remake of Thunderball. I remembered that rather than the actual official original film.
I'm sure there's a listener out there somewhere that when you said a Sean classic, their mind went straight to fucking like Medicine Man or Entrapment.
Entrapment would be hilarious. Oh my god. That was definitely a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Anyway, tonight for our 100th episode, we shall be commentating on From Russia with Love.
Thank you, Becca. Showing me up as host as always. And yeah, I'm not even introduced to you. Like it's Rebecca.
They must be on tenterhooks wondering who it is.
Who the fuck are these other voices?
What's going on?
Yeah, it's Rebecca and Dave.
Hi.
Good evening, folks.
They're waving.
Worst commentary intro ever.
Yeah.
They're waving.
Professionalism. Hey, I'm host. Well, Chris is hosting next week. Well, no, that fucks up my argument. My argument was it's my choice next week. So.
Octopussy again, Dave?
Again. Hey, you'll be really proud of me, right? On Roger's birthday, to pay tribute to him, I put on Octopussy, and I got an hour and 4 minutes into it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was probably the Tennessee that did that. Like,
I was thoroughly entertained for 17 minutes, I think it was.
Good job.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
well, we might as well just get on playing with the film. So yeah, we're on the as usual. We're on the DVD. We're on the Initiate mission.
On the Blu-ray.
As we like to call it, Blu-ray.
Yes.
On the
Blu-ray.
50th anniversary box set.
Yes, his name's Ray and he's very blue. He likes to swear. Likes to read jokes.
Piss partridge.
And on 3, I'm going to press play. So, you ready, guys?
Initiate mission page, so
Good.
ready yourselves.
1, 2, and 3. Okay. Right, we're playing. So, yeah, I was toying the idea of doing Dr. No. Because that was like the first one, wasn't it?
It was.
But I figured that would be Dave's choice, so I was like, I'm not sure, should I go for that?
Yeah. Although the thing is, it isn't like either or, is it? It's not like if you choose it, I don't get to contribute. Damn, Chris has chosen it. That means I get to do it 3 months earlier. Shit! Although it won't be my next choice, because my choice is literally the next episode. I don't think it's really wise to go from this back to Doctor No, but there you go.
Yeah.
It'll be a choice done sooner or later.
You could do. I mean, I was originally thinking Octopussy, but I didn't want to put you through that.
I'll have to go through it at some point.
This far early.
And actually, with the sound off and taking the piss out of it, it might be bearable.
I think you might survive that one, Dave.
Yeah.
So this scene is actually shot on out the back of Pinewood of Heatherden Hall. And if you were lucky enough to go to the recent Bond Stars meeting at Pinewood, then obviously you would have been able to see where it was shot and stepped in the footsteps of Sean Connery.
Very relatable to our transatlantic listeners there.
Yes. Well, if you were lucky enough to have made it across the pond to the Bond Stars event in September.
Now, what's going on here? Sean Connery's looking nervous and wearing too much makeup.
I wonder why. Could it be that it's not Sean Connery?
What's the relevance of having a double that looks exactly like him? That's not,
I don't know.
You know,
It's
in a boxing ring and then stuck a Mike Tyson mask on the other person. It wouldn't make him like better, would it? Unless it's Mike Tyson, of course, in which case it'd be redundant.
I just like that.
When he takes the mask off, there's that weird kind of sound effect as well, isn't there? That's
I know.
Weird.
I just like
the way doing underneath, he's got a moustache.
They probably got a session fluffer in to record that.
Fluffer.
I like the idea that Red Grant would just be thrown off if he looked nothing like Bond. It's just like,
hang on a minute, he's got a moustache. Oh shit, I've been shot at the moment.
I'm so confused. I don't know what to do.
Oh bugger!
Oh no, James Bond is going to die.
That's Holden Hall.
And that's what would happen in reality. All the floodlights would get triggered.
Did it in 2 seconds.
There's
This is probably like the worst dubbing ever in a Bond film.
1 minute 52
there's
seconds.
General Gogo.
Without moving, there's Gogo before he was Gogo.
He's not playing Gogo. Gogo can't walk.
He's got a moustache, so he can't be Bond.
That was surprisingly erotic, as there, Becca. Well done.
That was. Yeah.
That's probably what greedy bastards giving blowjobs sound like.
Is that the shortest pre-title sequence in the series?
No,
The World Is Not Enough is the longest.
I would think so.
Mm.
Yeah, it must be.
Is the World Not Enough still the longest, or is it not like Skyfall?
No, I think that still is the longest.
No, it is still the longest, about 14 minutes or so.
Come on, Danny boy, you can do a longer one.
Why would we want him to? Because it actually unbalances The World Is Not Enough. As good as that sequence is, it's too long.
It's really the best. Yeah, you want like 5-10 minutes tops, I reckon. I love these titles. I think they're really cool.
What I think about it is, like, at some point they had to kind of sell this to like the actresses, and this series wasn't like massive at the time. At the point where they're filming this, it's like, I want to flash some names on your naked body. It's art.
Just imagine Eunice Gayson.
I didn't even get to take her in the Layla. or the Ted. But she gave me a quick Peter Hunt job.
Bill Hill.
To remove her ring. This one's Robert Brownjohn, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
He's looking quite feminine, Nami, the person who did the sequence, obviously.
No, that's a lady.
I wonder how many of these are even still alive now. 54 years ago.
Probably still working. Belly dancing.
Well, normal one store.
Normal still going. I can tell you that for a fact.
We're chums with him.
Yes, he's a lovely gentleman.
Yeah.
Whom I met once.
Lionel Bart.
Is he still going? No.
Wrote a load of music. I don't know if he's still alive or not.
Oh.
Terence Young.
Hey, did you see, talking to directors, did you see Mendes has dropped out of doing a live-action Pinocchio film?
Ah, that's so you can come and direct Bond.
That's the worry, isn't it?
It's definitely going to happen. Soon as you mentioned it,
it's definitely going to happen, but the odds have just gone up because they can't get Villeneuve.
No. He was the favourite.
No, I don't know if they can get Jacques Villeneuve, the Formula One driver. He'd have a go.
They definitely going to go back to Mendes, like do a final Mendes Craig one.
He's got to be the leading candidate now.
But the problem is, I can just imagine the reaction, and it's just going to be kind of like a lukewarm kind of like, all right then.
Well, he said after Skyfall he'd done everything he wanted to do in that film, and lo and behold, I think that was true.
We'll see what happens there. I'm still convinced he might come back and do the hat trick.
The problem is, you're going to have a shitload of the other MI6 staff in it if he's back, and he'll carry on from that whole Blofeld thing, and it's like, oh fuck.
Like
that's the problem. If you cast good actors in the supporting cast, they all want a decent, role. They're not. The days of M being 2 minutes in the film are gone, sadly.
So long as they write a good script. Like a tight enough script,
a decent script, yeah.
No, it'll be all right. So it'll look cool enough, and they'll pull out something very decent. But it's just when they they work with stuff that's unfinished, and then it's just like it all falls apart.
Yeah, and the thing is, you think, well, they've got longer, but they had 3 years last time, and it didn't make any fucking difference.
Yeah, well,
like I say, I'm aware I've changed my mind on that film to some degree, and I still kind of enjoy it, but the script is its weakest point.
Yeah, I think they just.
I always like this set. Come on.
No, they obviously just had problems with deciding on what they wanted to do with the script, so they got rewritten here. They got different writers in. I think part of the idea of
they left it in John Logan's hands for too long. They left it in John Logan's hands for too long. And everyone talks about what great writer he is. I think he wrote Gladiator, didn't he? But if you go and look at his filmography, there's plenty of shit in there as well. He's not that great a writer. I've always loved that set, and the top bit's all matte painting, but it's really cool.
You would never know it's a matte painting.
And I've always loved Kronstein. I mean, I guess this film just doesn't have... Rosa Klebb is probably the iconic
That seemed shot backwards,
bad guy
wasn't it?
in this. Yeah, she was stepping away from it.
It's the shot in reverse. I think that's a clever effect. It looks otherworldly.
And
It kind of
later
unnerves
on,
you.
they elongate a scene by filming her in front of herself.
Oh.
They filmed her against, a blank background and then cut her in over herself, physically. I'll show you when that happens in a minute.
It's very clever. A lot of technological advances in this film.
And I still prefer Blofeld like this. Unseen and kind of a sinister voice.
Yeah.
Because whenever he's appeared, he's never been that good.
There he is. And there's a scene again.
Yeah. But that's Peter Hunt. He could make gold out of these things.
He's just a genius. Absolute genius.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I do think when we see Blofeld in You Only Live Twice, I think that is such an iconic villain to reveal. But yeah, I do kind of think, and he's just a voice.
But he comes off as weedy.
Yeah, he's not the physically imposing.
I know that's the iconic Blofeld. But I don't really like him. Telly Savalas is a lot better, but isn't
Just
that much
he's got
of
the
a
physicality
standout.
of it.
But he isn't that much of a standout in and of himself. And Charles Gray's Camp as a row of pink tents.
He's brilliant. He's great.
So
just for that film.
I'm just not fond of any of them, to be honest with you. And Christoph Waltz was a huge letdown.
He's either here nor there. So
There, she's cut in front of herself. Behind that was originally a shot of her talking. And they've just cut a bigger version of herself over the top of it.
it's very clever.
It's really clever for 55 years ago, nearly.
It's very clever. And also the background looks a bit strange.
He was very loyal to the white cat, wasn't he?
That white cat gets a lot of love.
You don't go back a few years later and he's got a tortoiseshell or something.
What if Blofeld was the cat?
Mind you, if it was a tortoiseshell, it wouldn't fucking sit still. But yeah.
Also, going by Denny, she's a little wriggler.
Well, she does lay down, but she does what she wants, basically. I can't imagine being able to, wrangle one on set, to be honest.
So, Dave, if you were going to get a dog, how would Denny cope? Would she be okay?
I don't know. That's kind of the worry. Thinking about it.
I don't know if you know anybody with a pup who could borrow their pup for a week.
I do know someone who's just had puppies.
Okay.
Whose dogs just have puppies.
You can maybe borrow the pup and then see what happens.
So, yeah, this is painted as revenge, isn't it? They'll send James Bond, and that's great because of what he did to Dr. No. But of course, in the book, Dr. No, that bit where he's being told to use a different gun is because his gun jammed on him and all the rest of it, and they're describing the end of the book From Russia with Love.
Yeah. That's why he ends up there, because he jammed on him and everything.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, well, From Russia with Love, the book's a cliffhanger. You don't know if Bond's dead or what.
It's proper.
Dying.
Wasn't it in John F. Kennedy's top 5 books?
He put it in his top 10 books,
Top 10
and
list.
then was granted a screening of it just before he went to Dallas. So it's very likely that this was the last film he ever saw.
Yeah, well, certainly, yeah.
Hey, doesn't that remind you of Body Swap in Red Dwarf? You can just imagine him going, "This is what I call training."
That's true.
I always think of Wayne's World. I always wanted to open the door to a bunch of trainers, ninjas training.
That would be so funny. I think it's a joke.
Excellent. Where is he now? Right there.
Right there. Don't touch my elbow. Yeah, it's not what he says. It's a training area, but that's not what he's
Even she has been dead a very, very long time now. Lottie Lane, yeah. She died in like 1981 or something like that.
She wasn't very old either, was she, I don't think?
I think she was in her... I don't know, actually. I think she might have been in her 60s.
She was 22 in this.
Bloody hell.
She turned down paying Tatiana on the basis that she was too fucking hot.
Short of the challenge.
Tatiana.
All their agents have got third-degree burns and stab wounds, but they get the job done. Now they're walking straight into another section, and it's the same one. It's
the same one again.
Shot. Yeah. Well, shot from a different angle. This is why he didn't walk in later films. I mean, he's exhausted himself. Look how much walking he's done there. He hasn't had a blowjob in several minutes, so it's clearly not Gogol. He's got a bit of a circus strongman body, isn't he? That's not what they would cast. Well, no, Charles Atlas was more muscular than that.
Bodybuilder.
He's tucking in a lot, though, isn't he?
Well, he watched the first film and he thought, well, Ursula Andress did, so
yeah, I'll do it. Breathing done.
I watched Doctor No not that long ago, and it's quite off-putting how much she's sucking her stomach in. Ezio! I know, that's Assassin's Creed Revolutions.
Not quite Ezio.
But yeah, Istanbul.
A little bit of Russian I've learned from this film.
She was really young when they filmed this. I mean, she's still only in her 70s.
Well, how old was she?
She was
19,
a bit older than that,
20?
but 22, I think. 22? I think, yeah.
Right.
She is like the youngest leading Bond girl.
She's like naturally beautiful though.
Yeah, well, she looks older. She does look older. You wouldn't think she was 22.
No, I think it's just the way that she's dressed and how they've styled her hair.
Yeah. She is a natural beauty. She's she's probably still in my top 10 Bond girls if I thought about it. Ursula Andress is probably the most overrated in the series, but she is sandwiched between...
I think she was the first.
Well, no, that's not why she's overrated. It's just that one shot. She's nothing that special. I mean, Pussy Galore was way, way more interesting as a character, better acted.
Sure.
I thought, better introduction, everything. And of course, she's sandwiched between those two.
Sure, yeah, it's a bit...
Not in a fun, let's watch kind of way.
Plus Ursula Andress only had like...
Yeah. So, in the book, this is filth, isn't it? Becca, do you remember this in the book?
It's proper filth.
In the book, I think she basically changes into a nightie and everything.
Yeah, it's like hands everywhere.
Basically, it's the gist of this scene, but Fleming being Fleming, it's like, her trying to get it on with her.
Let's have a bit of girl-on-girl action.
Yeah, and she basically runs out.
So basically she does a Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. Yeah, although...
Sorry to pull that reference, guys.
She didn't come into a plant pot that was nearby.
No.
Apart from that. It was... no, but it is quite...
But now I've just given myself that image, so...
It is kind of... It reads kind of tacky in the book. But having said that, apart from that, the book is really... really loyal to the film and the book.
Yeah, they're quite close, aren't they? There aren't too many variances.
I think it might even be the closest. People say that about Majesties, but I think this is even closer.
Yeah, the two are quite
and you don't get to Bond until, I can't remember if it's like 40 or 80 pages, but you don't get to Bond until a fair way in, and we're not getting Bond yet here either.
No, it did take a good while.
It's pretty loyal, pretty faithfully adapted. What a mission this is, though. Just get some young girl and say, you'll fuck who we tell you to fuck.
You're the screw James Bond.
And of course, morals of the early 60s, they've got to, suggest she's had a few lovers, but the audience can't think she's a slapper in, that type. So they come up with the number 3. I wonder what number would they come up with now?
I don't know.
if they were making this. Because
Mm,
3 would be too low.
5?
But they, you know what I'm saying, though? They've got to come out with a number that suggests
Yeah.
sexually experienced.
But not the hussy.
But, yeah.
What? I mean, what numbers in like how many people?
They announced there she's got 3. She's had 3 lovers, which was supposed to be mildly shocking, but only mildly shocking. I just wonder what number they come up with now.
That just seems like quite irrelevant information. Like,
Also hairy, oh my god.
Nothing
I
wrong
know I
with
say that
that.
every time, but I can't get over it.
He might just be wearing a
that's
very,
nice.
very threadbare jumper. Do you think he's in the League of Shadows?
He's so hairy, he's in the League of Shadows.
I know the original plan, because Lois Maxwell was offered the choice of those 2 roles. And I don't mean James Bond or Sylvia Trench. Miscasted, if you ask me. No, she was asked whether she wanted to play Moneypenny or Sylvia Trench. And obviously we know what she chose. But the original plan was Sylvia Trench was going to be in all of these films, spurned at the start of the film just as she's about to get some, right? And then she was going to be the lead Bond girl in like the 5th or 6th entry. I think it was going to be the 6th, because it was the last in Sean's contract, I think. And his original contract, I think, was 6. Somebody can correct me on that, but it's along those lines. And of course, we never saw her again after this. Changed the director for the next one, and that was it. But
so she was originally going to be like the love of Bond.
yeah,
really.
but the idea of her being like the lead Bond girl
Bond's girlfriend.
after he's run off in 5 separate films with different women does come off a bit like, oh, I guess I'll do this time then, eh?
We can just imagine like the ending of the film would be them finally getting it together.
Yeah, that
It'd be like sort of, and then M will call and he would like sort of
Yeah.
like throw
And
his
of course-
watch or whatever like he does.
and of course, I don't know which one. I don't know where Majesties would have fallen in that line, because Majesties is actually the 6th film. She's the lead Bond girl, and then he fucks off and marries Tracy at the end.
Bugger.
Of course, it's a trap.
And then she gets shot, and then like she turns up in a car, goes like, "James, you okay?" Oh well.
Oh, yeah, but I'm free tonight, Dad. What is so good about this, though, is it's such a fucking obvious trap.
It really is.
It's just like, well, I'm clearly being trapped, and we've got this is clearly entrapment, but I've actually got to go and find out what this is. The whole thing's so fantastic. I mean, Christ, I'm sexy, but even so.
But obviously a trap.
Well, at least it doesn't paint everyone as like idiots. You know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah. I can't remember if it does in the book. Hey, she sent a photo. Actually, oh, she's clothed.
Oh. Naked from the skirt down.
What? Just posing for a photo, but no skin. Yeah, okay, whatever.
No, just see your ankles. Oh.
Smart-looking piece of luggage.
Oh, well, tell us all about this.
Well, we basically saw Desmond Llewellyn from middle age through to death from here.
Oh. I would have liked to have met him. I bet he would have been a really nice chap.
Yeah. I loved him, but I don't miss him in the films now particularly, and I really wouldn't be bothered if there was no Q.
No, I'm sorry. You do need Q. I'm sorry.
What do you need it for, though, now? We're not at the format of here's 4 interesting things, go and deploy them at tactical points. That doesn't happen anymore. So again, it's more padding of people you've got to give something to do.
It could,
So
but then it's not a
Inspector-
Bond movie, is it? And then it doesn't kind of follow the traditional story.
Yeah,
You know,
but
with the 7
Casino
pillars of
Royale's one of
storytelling.
the very best Bond films, and it's not in that. It just doesn't matter. There's no Q in Live and Let Die either.
No,
There's no Q in Doctor No. It's not.
Well, it's the first, arguably, and they haven't set up the franchise just yet.
You use them sparingly. Use them when it
when
matters.
it's really important.
It used to be time for the Q scenes, and you'd get 4 things that he would use magically at tactical points. And I think if you went back to that now, it would look shit.
If you did it all the time, yeah, definitely. But if you did
They did it all the time. That was the point, and we don't want that. And the problem with it is, I say we, I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah,
but,
you.
But the problem with it is now, of course, you've still got Q in it now.
Yeah,
and they've got to give him something to do. So now I like him, but you've got Q, Moneypenny, and M. And because they're name actors, they've got to give them something to do. So we have an MI6 subplot in it. And that pisses me off. I just want this. Go in and talk to M for a couple of minutes. Try and put your hand up Moneypenny's skirt, and then out you go.
You go and do your mission. Get on with it.
I mean, look, you can play around a bit. I mean, there's been times where like the Moneypenny scene's been while he's on field, you know, and sort of play around with that.
Well, just after his wife's been shot, and he says, "Are you
going to put a diamond on this?"
Well, you can have a fucking bullet. You know, yeah. I mean, I don't mind these characters being in it, but we've moved away from such a strict formula, and Casino Royale kind of redefined what you can do with a Bond film. And actually, now I think about it, I wouldn't be that bothered if we didn't have Q scenes.
But to be fair,
not every single film, but maybe on the occasional film. But I would kind of miss that because for me, I mean, you do not all the time, but it is an integral part of the Bond formula. I mean,
that's the problem. If you've got it has to be all the time. Particularly now, we've got like Bond films every fucking 3 or 4 years. You're not going to call Ben Whishaw back after 12 years, are you? Let's have it once every 3 films. So the problem is you end up with them crammed into these films, and now that because they're names, you've got to do something with them. We're past the era of jobbing actors like Desmond Llewellyn who are happy to turn up and do 2 minutes.
Yeah,
that's the problem. So actually, I want them to minimise MI6.
But in terms of like Ben Whishaw, I mean, you see him for a couple of minutes and then that's it. I mean, if you put all of his time spent
he was out in the fucking field, Inspector.
Well, exactly. If you stick together all his scenes.
Hang on a minute. You said he's hardly in it, and then I said he's out in the field, and you said exactly. That doesn't prove the point.
Well, no, not exactly. But if you kind of take together all his scenes and see how long it lasts.
Well, I'm aware he's not in it for an hour and a half, but he appears in about 3 or 4 different places in the film. It's too much. He's got his scene at the start of the film. You see him in the restaurant. You see him you see another bit where he's called from the Nine Eyes conference. You see him out in the field, Inspector, and then you've got another scene with him at the end. That's about 5 scenes. That's way too much for a Q character.
Well, he's fully involved.
Yeah.
Let Bond go out and work by his fucking self for a change. Or hand him 4 things and let him deploy them during the film as you always did if you have to. But that's formulaic as shit and would look really tired now.
I think it depends because I think they've re-established what Q is. He's more like the hacker. So if you can have like the Q stuff,
now he's gone for more like a sort of hacker style character, hasn't he?
I'll just ring Q.
He's still there to equip Bond.
Like
I'll just ring. Well.
Yeah, I'll just ring Q and sort of like get it to check up on something for me.
I don't dislike any of these people or any of these characters, but the problem I've got, and it really, really crystallised Inspector, is that they're all name actors. They're not happy to do the one scene where, I fancy you, Moneypenny.
They've gone too big, haven't they?
Now M has to have a subplot and be out in the field every fucking time, and it does my nut. Once in a while it was good. It didn't bother me that much with Judi Dench, but it's just been going on for years now. The film's about Bond, not MI6.
No, you need to kind of like rein them in a little bit as well, but I think it's still nice to see them. It's literally if it just was a case of go see M's office, speak to Judi Dench or Ray Fiennes.
But they don't do that, and it's because it's Ray Fiennes. That's the problem.
Oh, look at the Harry Potter films, in terms of as Voldemort kind of threat agree, and then you only see him probably for great chunks of time in the last 2 films. So just because Ray Fiennes doesn't mean he ruins his.
Yeah, but he's a shadow. If he was, if he was Harry Potter's head, if he was playing fucking Dumbledore, you'd see loads of him. That's closer to M. If you had to carry, I mean,
you're not complaining about Richard Harris or Michael Gambon ruining those films, are you?
Yes, because
They got huge
exactly,
roles in
exactly.
them.
different. Yeah, but Harry Potter doesn't fuck off to Switzerland and spend the film killing people and shagging. He's at school. There's bound to be a few of the teachers knocking around. You know, if Bond did nothing but sit in M's office, M would probably be there. You know.
Anyway, so this film features Karen Bay, and unfortunately this is the actor's final film because he passed away after making this film. Very sad.
He died before the film was even
He
released.
did, yeah, he became very
Months
poorly.
before it was released.
Passed away.
That's the reason you see a lot of him sitting down. When we get to the gypsy camp later, he's limping.
Yeah, you don't kind of see it very clearly, but his
And
health
I'm
is in a
told
great way.
there are scenes where he's literally being held up.
Yeah, he's having to be supported, isn't he? I think.
The guy was in agony, and they were gonna give him severance and let him go, but he begged because he wanted to provide for his family. And so they rearranged the schedule so he was done shooting earlier in the year. Now he went into, I think it was the Mayo Clinic, but it was certainly a clinic in America. And he went in with a gun smuggled, and he shot himself. And that was in June. And the film didn't come out till November.
No, it's very sad.
So he was dead months before this was released, and he was terminally he was in agony months before this was released. So this is any time you see him, you're very early in the schedule.
A lot of pencil moustaches in this film.
It was a style at the time.
Yeah.
You couldn't get away with that style now,
Actually,
though, could you?
it's pure luck. Bond's never had one of those, and it wasn't established into the character or something.
No, he could have had a beard.
Yeah.
I don't know what difference it would have made.
He could have had a Poirot.
He could have had a what? Which one, a Suchet or Branagh?
That was the Branners.
Or Ustinov?
Branners is scrumptulescent.
That's a great word.
Branners needs a film in itself.
Perfectly
I know.
competent word.
It'll get its own spin-off. A buddy cop comedy with Liam Neeson's cock.
Or Johnny Depp's pencil moustache as Ratchet.
Yeah, that would be up the female sash pants moustache. No, because it's Johnny Depp. I miss this.
Oh,
this.
poor Johnny.
Yeah, it's a really good scene where Bond's basically checking
for bugs.
Yeah,
and
checking
stuff
for
like
bugs. Oh, yeah,
It's
I would love
in
one of these
Dr.
scenes
No,
to
isn't it?
reappear. It is,
It's in
yeah.
Doctor No, yeah.
It's basically Bond doing his job, being a spy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had the same in Live and Let Die as well.
Yes. Live and Let Die is kind of loosely a remake of this, anyway. Really.
They're all essentially remakes.
Well, License to Kill ain't.
No, that's not. That's what one of the
Casino
thing.
Royale. Loads of them aren't, but there are certain ones where they come up and you go, yeah, well, that's very similar too.
Yeah.
You know, Diamonds Are Forever was kind of Goldfinger again.
Do you think they're going to do that again?
So was A View to a Kill.
Yeah. The Spy Love Me and Moonraker. One's in the sea, one's up in space.
Mm.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to do that again? Remake, like another old Bond film?
I think they're very. I think,
As a
I think
new
they
one.
always try to be careful to avoid the exact same beats now, don't they?
Instead of remaking their own films, I'd rather they turn their attention to getting the rights to the continuation novels.
I don't think we mean literally remakes, though. I mean, it's not like A View to a Kill came out called Goldfinger. It just was very, very similarly
The plot was
structured,
vaguely similar.
and the plot was similar, yeah. I don't know. I haven't read enough of the continuation novels to comment. I mean, the couple I read were Raymond Benson, and I didn't think they were that amazing, to be honest with you.
No, they've kind of dated.
Didn't think they were great at the time. I read them at the time and just thought, well, it's fine as a book. I didn't think they were terrible,
No.
but I wasn't desperate to see the film version.
Some of the John Gardner ones, for example, you would need to do quite a lot of work to update them. They've dated horribly. But he drives a Saab, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, see, I don't want that in a film. Do
No,
we
that'd be
really
a
want Bob driving a Saab?
No. They turn it into the Aston, he'll be alright. He's dead.
Who'd have thought that's the same guy who plays Quint?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that at the start of the film. I mean, I think he had a drink problem, so I think he did age unusually.
Yeah, you watch that and then you watch Jaws and he just thinks he looks a hell of a lot older.
Yeah, I mean,
He still looks burly.
Yeah,
though.
don't mess with him.
Big
He
burly
died
man.
3 years after Jaws and was only 51. So I mean, he's 48 in Jaws, and 36 here. All I heard then was Chris from The Man with the Golden Gun going, "When you gonna fuck me?"
That's pretty much what she says, isn't it?
That's her entire story arc. That's her
Give
whole
me some
character.
attention.
Then
a
it's
lucky
like,
That's
just
not
hang
his
around
wife.
more. What like?
I love that. Oh, Becca's so innocent. She went, "I'm your wife." No, that's not his wife.
That's not his wife.
There's nothing about that scene that says that's his wife.
That's his lover.
Yeah.
That's a living lover from Liverpool.
But he's getting bored with her.
It's a very close friend. Oh well, guess I'm gonna have to have sex.
Back to the salt mines.
Sex with the salt mines.
Worst slang for a vagina ever.
That could be a big wedding ring she's got, but obviously on the wrong hand. But never mind.
If he wasn't a horny devil, he might have been dead.
Ooh.
Just a quick note. I love how the explosion in this film gave off like a purple light.
Yeah, it's
know.
really good.
I think it was probably set off by the Joker or something.
It's like
Very
psychedelic.
psychedelic, the 60s.
I love Sean's walk.
It's swagger. It's pure swagger.
I've just noticed he's got his hand in his pocket.
He does,
like,
yeah.
Daniel's is kind of similar.
Yeah, that's where he's got the style from.
I wonder is that where you got it from then?
And certainly the suits are based on these as well. Although they keep putting Daniel in ridiculously tight suits.
Yeah, he does kind of look a little bit like he's have to be sewn into them.
That's kind of what Chris was saying, though. The first two films were of a such different style.
Oh,
I mean,
completely.
I know the editing was batshit, but, like, give me something that looks a bit more like Quantum of Solace. In terms of, like, costume design and all that sort of thing.
What, let him get back to wearing like a crap t-shirt like he did in
Well, he
Casino?
wore suits in that as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I
the
mean,
suits
but
were
yeah, I
better.
can't think where he... But now he's always in a suit now, in Spectre, and... not, well, I suppose in the beginning of Skyfall, but once he went on the
Back in
mission,
a
he
suit.
was... I suppose that was that.
I don't like those suits he wears, though.
Just too tight.
It's one of the reasons I don't...
Or too
It's kind
stylised.
of the reason I don't want Mendes back, because, I mean, I know everyone banged on about the look of Skyfall, but there's something inherent to the design of those two films that I don't like as much as the two that preceded it. They're a lot greyer somehow.
And I'm not like an aficionado of Ben's style, but
Nor
is
am
it
I.
down to? But could it be down to like movie fashion, whereas Casino Royale was a genuine like well-fitted suit, whereas
Yeah, I do
Things
wonder
like
if they're
Skyfall
trying to
and
show
Spectre
off his
were a lot
physique
more like-
and remind us what a hard bastard he is and stuff like that, and it's like, put him in a suit that fucking fits him. Now, this is the first shot from Russia from a Sean Connery film I can remember. Now, I probably didn't start watching it here, but if you said From Russia with Love to me in the first 2 or 3 years I knew the Bond films, I would have thought of this shot. Just stuck with me for some reason.
I've always remembered this bit.
Yeah.
But it's odd out of quite a few of the Bond films. I remember watching this when I was dead young, and I was quite keen on it, even like from a first.
You would think
from
you might have a problem
a young
with it.
age.
I think Sean's half the reason. And that train fight. And Lottie Lenya. To be honest with you, it's got lots of really good aspects to it, but...
I think it's just really well paced, though, isn't it?
yeah.
Like even before the
I've only
train
got...
bit, I
Yeah,
was
the only bit of
engaged
this film I've got a
and having fun
problem
with it.
with is the gypsy camp. I get bored during that. That's about it.
So I quite like that, but then there was a lot of shooting, so...
Sean always looks very serious.
Serious face.
All I mean by that actually is there is a difference between Sean's got a slightly. I mean, I'm not saying he's the most rangiest actor I've ever seen, but like he's all business here, and later when he's chatting up a woman, he's slightly different, and when he's fighting, he's different again. Sure, you know, Roger would be wearing a smirk here, or
he'd have a quip. He'd have a quip at the ready.
Bottoms up.
I'd have a quip and I.
I'd like to get a close. I'd like to have a closer look at that.
Not a bad.
The file, I mean.
But yeah, Daniel's suits are very, very based on this era, but they're just tighter.
Not a problem with that.
They don't fit, though, Becca. It's all wrong.
No, they do look very ill-fitting, especially during the action scenes. That's all to accentuate his muscles.
On that logic, they should have put Pierce Brosnan in a fucking tent.
No, it's all good. No, they do kind of look really ill-fitting. I mean, they are very smart, but I just kind of think, oh, really? You know, sort of breathing.
Yeah, you think back to the film, the suit they put him in at the end of Casino Royale, and you think, perfect.
That was ideal. I don't know why they
stick with that.
Him. Yeah.
And he was wearing quite a nice suit at the start of Quantum as well. I know it got trashed
it's very
quickly.
Very dapper.
So yeah, I hope Mendes doesn't come back, but
he will.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I can just imagine the reaction of like being really lukewarm, was like kind of they're holding it as if it's some sort of big surprise. Everyone's going to go.
Well, the general public quite like them.
God.
I mean, they are two really high-grossing films.
I know. I think after Spectre,
it's just not the direction, look, or anything I want.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was one of the few that thought Spectre looked better than Skyfall. Looked better, but even so, I just don't like the direction, the design, the throwing in the MI6 people way too much. Get somebody else. Mind you, Purvis and Wade are writing it, so I don't know what difference it makes.
I think the problem is mostly at the production anyway. It's always going to be Buckley and Michael G. Wilson. They have an idea
it's a controversial view, and I've explained it on a different podcast. I explained it podcasting with James Murphy actually, but I made a very strong case why I think they should now sell it. And I've always been an Eon fan. I think they've done a wonderful job with it. And I understand the risks of passing it on to another company, but I'm genuinely at the point now that I want them to sell it.
Is that just to freshen it up a little bit?
They're getting too old. The problem is, I mean, the gaps between films are getting ever longer. And I remember Craig being interviewed last year when he was he finished filming Logan Lucky because he had the blonde hair. And he was saying, I think everyone's tired. And I think, well, that's what happens when one of you is nearly 60 and the other one's nearly 80. And there's only two of you. You're a small crew anyway. You've reached paralysis on doing anything new with the saga. You don't really know where to go next. And the problem is they just don't know how to play the game. You get to, like, Bond Day, October the 5th, 55 years since it started, and we got nothing. We don't get any decent Bond video games. They've got no presence at like Comic-Con. We don't have any version of like Star Wars Celebration for Bond or anything like that.
No, I mean, there's all fair play to them to being protective of their brand, but they are being too protective to this extent.
No, they just don't know what to do with it. That's the problem. I don't think they have the skill set now. And anyone, I think until you think about it, the natural reaction to what I've just said is horror. Because it's been this family business and Albert Cubby Broccoli and Eon.
They're sort of wondering if they do let somebody else, it's going to dilute that brand, but that's simply not the case.
Well, I just think fucking sell it. There's a risk in that. There is a risk in that, but you can't. I mean, there are. I honestly think it needs to go to somebody where you can get them out every 2 years, 3 years maximum. When one finishes, the release date of the next one. Even if that is 3 years in the future, not it goes quiet and no one has a clue what to do next. where there are video games, where there are presences at Comic-Con, where they do know how to market the property properly, where they do interesting extras and proper releases beyond the fact that Lowry restored them 12 years ago or whatever they did. That's the most important thing. But I mean, you think back to Anniversary.
Want to go back and restore them again. So.
Well, no, the point is they got that bit right, and that is the most important thing. They are restored in 4K and stuff. Yeah. That is the most important thing. But that box set came out, and it had all the legacy extras, so i.e. the stuff that was on DVD in the 90s.
Yeah, the special editions, yeah.
But nothing else.
No, that was the newest thing.
The extras disc had just, I think, all the theme sequences put together, and that was it. The video game that year was embarrassingly poor. You had Everything or Nothing, but it only got a DVD release in this country, and that was a year later, and it was only shown on, I think, Hulu or something like that in the United States. I just think that they should get out of the game because they don't know how to play the game. And that's not to knock anything they've done. They've been terrific, but how long is it going to be before we have 6 years between Bond films? It's getting fucking silly now. Give it to more of a production fucking machine. It doesn't stop. I mean, Disney bought Star Wars and Pixar and Marvel, and as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't massively affected the standard because they're still working with people who have talent. You still call people in with ideas. You know, it doesn't stop. If you want Sam Mendes to make a Bond film with Daniel Craig in it being owned by Warner Brothers or fucking Amazon or even Disney doesn't change that. But it does stop them going, oh, well, we'll wait 4 years. Because that's unacceptable. That's going to damage the brand over time. You can't keep putting out 2 to 3 films a decade. Sell it. I genuinely believe that. Sell it.
Yeah, so I always feel like what frustrates me when they keep going, it's right. It's like, your Bond's not getting any older. Like, we could have had... In this time, I think about how many could have had at least another 2 or 3 Craigs.
Yeah.
Like had they got their shit together.
They don't strike while the iron's hot, and people are getting a bit bored of the Daniel Craig era now because they want to change the tone. And you think, well, actually, he should have done 5 films, but in a couple of years less, or 6 films at the same time. It's just what we shouldn't be. The tail's wagging the fucking dog. And what bothers me is when a film comes out. They don't have a clue what they're going to do next. They don't know when the next film's going to be. They don't know what it looks like. They've got no idea where they're going plot-wise. It's got a complete hand-to-mouth way of doing things. And I'm sure there's people listening to this who are horrified because it's Eon and they're kind of exalted. It's not to say they haven't done a great job, but where's coming next? I know Michael G. Wilson's got a couple of kids. But I've seen Greg's name on the video games and they were shit. It's give it to people who know what the fuck they're doing and have the time to put to it. Because 4-year gaps are nothing in between. And now they've painted themselves into a corner. We've got no idea how the next film's going to get themselves out of that. It's time to move on.
Well, why did he... Separate issue. Why did he bother just ditching both those 2 guys in the league?
No idea.
Yeah, it seems a bit pointless, really.
It says quite a lot that actually I'm not commentating over this bit because I've never really liked it that much. Although that bit's cool because he's kind of what the fuck?
But what I was going to say, yeah. What's always frustrating me is how they always just seem to be taking 3 or 4 years stream for each films now.
It's too long.
And I understand it's production issues really held it back.
Oh, we understand the whole MGM thing. That was fine. But when it went to 3 years, I thought that is the absolute maximum of what's acceptable. I'd wear 3. But I want to know, when it comes out, October, November 2019, that the next one is definitely 3 years afterwards. And that there's some way along in the process of developing it. And for that, you actually need... You've got to have more than 2 producers involved.
I kind of agree with you to some extent because what frustrates me is the lack of a plan. It's have some sort of idea of where you're going, even if they're not all related, which I kind of wish they would be, not all like be all synced together. You know, like okay, we'll have a film where Bond goes to this location and we'll play with these ideas and entirely sort of
Star Wars has an idea of what's going to happen for the next 15 years.
Because the thing with scripts is that the thing with scripts is like, you know, they don't have a budget. You know, you do. You have to hire a writer, but you can literally.
But it's not. It's not that expensive in the process.
While you are shooting the current Bond film, there's no reason why you can't just right. Here's the ideas. Write as a script. Be ahead of the game. Have it ready. Like literally, like by the time the new one's out, you've literally got a new Bond film like set ready to start shooting now. If possible, or it's just basically down to the actors when they're available.
It's not that I think people can. You know, it's not that I think people can do it better than Broccoli and Wilson, particularly. It's more the fact that they're only focused on a small part of it, in that there's more to marketing the product and filling out a world than that. It pisses me off that they're never at a Comic-Con or anything like that. But it's also the fact that they aren't getting any younger, and they want to do other things as well. I mean, they've just made that film about Gloria Graham. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, Bond is your bread and butter, and to keep the fan base going, you know, you've got to have Bond films more often than this. Because think of a younger person now. I mean, somebody who is like 15 in 2019 was 11 when Spectre came out. That's a fucking lifetime when you're that age, and you're a completely different person. And we all fell in love with Bond as a kid. I think you've got to try to be every other year, but every third year we'd all understand and accept. But once they start going to 4 years, for no other reason than Daniel going, I think everyone's a bit tired. What, really? That's not an excuse. So we won't get a Star Wars film next year because everyone's tired. Is that all right? Sell it. You know, play the game or get out of the game.
Well, the thing is, though, if they pull the finger out to some extent, I mean, obviously, I don't think the MGM.
No, that sort of thing can't be helped.
You know, Daniel could have done 5 films, and then like, well before then, and it's like, right, I'm out. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And then we'd all have sort of 5 relatively decent films. I mean, obviously, you know, not all can be winners, but that's the name of the game, isn't it? I'm much rather.
I think what I'm saying is I want more of a roadmap, and I want more of a multimedia strategy.
Yeah. This is how you, Dave.
I am not one of these arrogant enough to think I can do it better, but I recognise that it needs more than it has now. And they can't go on forever. The fact is, Michael G. Wilson will be late 70s by the time the next one comes out. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, how many years...
Hand it over to Greg.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah, but just handing it over to family, who's to say Greg's going to be any fucking good at it?
He might sell it on to somebody.
They might as well just sell it then, rather than give it to some kid to fuck up. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you know what I mean, though. It's like, well, what's the point of handing it on to Greg to sell? They might as well sell it themselves.
She should have kept her mouth shut.
And then we might actually get some decent fucking home releases with like good extras and decent video games and like interviews and fucking other things, and you know. I remember
it's difficult to kind of get a game made as well, because I mean Activision kind of went down the pan a little bit, and also you got like Rockstar and everything. I think if Rockstar got a hold of the Bond franchise, they would be able to do it some justice.
Rockstar wouldn't want it. Rocksteady might though.
that's true. But it's just it's a sort of difficulty of getting into the game market as well, and choosing the right studio who would do justice.
Well, they haven't chose one in 5 years now.
Well, no, this is it exactly.
It's fucking stupid.
It's
really
one of those
is.
Things.
You know, and I remember someone saying, "Christ, we'd end up with a Lego Bond film," and I think, yeah, what's wrong with that?
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Would be fucking brilliant. What's wrong with that?
I'd love a Lego Bond video game. Think of all the ones you could do. There'd be 25 of them so far.
Obviously, I said this.
Do you think, Dave? Do you think also that reaction or that perception of the action is kind of might be part of the problem?
There's an inherent conservatism,
resistance of like.
Yeah, there is. No one ever wants change. I mean, Christ, but Becca's a good example. Very typical Bond fan. I just said can Q, and she fucking like. It's like, well,
but then also, I would quite like Lego Bond. That would be hilarious.
Some people want the same Bond film every 2 fucking years. Genuinely, they just want the same fucking thing.
To be fair, to go back to that argument, maybe not all the time, as we've seen. As 16 Royale is very, is celebrated, and we don't see any of occasionally, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But for me, like, it has to. Like Quantum, for example, contains very little of those elements. They are there, but just not in any way.
Quantum would be a great film if it wasn't edited by somebody on fucking drugs.
Yeah, exactly. But that's by the by. But it's kind of like you have to have them show up at some stages because it's generally not a Bond film. It's just your generic spy thriller. Could be Bourne.
I've always seen Bond. I've always seen Quantum of Solace as a Bond film. I don't have a it's not any worse because he did order a martini in that one. That's a bad example.
But for me,
I just get tired of it. That like, as soon as you say to people, it's not that. It's as soon as you say to anyone, Eon need to sell it. There's fucking uproar, and it's like, just think for a minute.
Think of the benefits.
We're hardly getting any fucking films, and that's all we're getting. It's like, think a bit wider, for God's sake. Now, I appreciate you can overexploit. Now, I think people think in very binary terms. They think what we've got now versus the most ridiculous oversaturation you can imagine. People imagine that, like, some company are going to buy it, right? And then we will have 2 Bond films a year and a Moneypenny spin-off and a fucking Felix Leiter spin-off and MI6 on TV and 5 video games a year. And I just don't think that it's one or the other. They can do more than they're doing now without massively oversaturating.
Yeah, I think that's also there's
risky, Chris. For everything I've just said, it's risky.
Yeah. Well, that's always there's always risk in everything, though, isn't it? Really, potentially. But what would happen with, like, say, like a partnership? Because there's talk about going to Warner Brothers, isn't there, as possible?
It's going to be Annapurna next time in America. That's been announced as a distribution. Annapurna.
It's going to be what? Sorry,
the little independent run by Megan Ellison. The small studio, they're going to distribute in America. It's Bond 25.
Is that Annapurna?
Yeah, that's what I just said 3 times.
Oh, I couldn't hear you, sorry.
They could do with a long-term deal and a long-term strategy. That's all I'm saying. And Eon are too small and run by 2 people too stuck in their ways, trying to be Cubby Broccoli still. Well, the world has moved on. Cubby Broccoli didn't need to go to, like, fucking Comic-Con because for most of his career it wasn't there, or it was tiny. Cubby Broccoli didn't have to think about video games particularly, although there were Bond computer games in the 80s, because, like, the technology wasn't there that's there now. And, Bond, and also we were much more of a studio system then, that they could demand Sean Connery did a film every year. Most of the time. They only gave a bit later on because they were in fear of losing him. So they've not adapted.
It's the efficiency as well at the time as well.
Yeah. I don't think for a second they can make a Bond film every year. I don't think they can.
No, I think that's probably pushing it as well. But 2 years, yeah.
Well, I think so, but if you guaranteed me 3, I'd take it. Once you start going to 4, it's getting fucking stupid now. Because you get used to that for a few years, and then suddenly there'll be a 5-year gap for some reason. And it's like, now, sell it on. Give it to somebody who can, like, churn them out faster than that.
Is it 2019 they're doing it?
And there's no real reason. I know they've got to work out a distribution deal and all the rest of it, but I mean they've pretty much fucking sorted that. It's just it's too much. And if distribution is the problem, then sell it outright to a distributor. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of studios that do their own distribution. If people are saying, well, it's not their fault, they've got to get distribution in place, well, there's something broken with the arrangement.
I find it difficult to as a even concept, because like I just think it's a Bond film, it will fucking sell. Like you're not going to have
it's like, well, we can't start
we've got a brand new canon Bond
is.
film with Daniel Craig.
They are going to give you the money, don't worry. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, he's like, no, this will make money. It's not like you've got a brand new canon film with Daniel Craig, and we're having like a hard time.
I just think fine, do the next one, but then let's have a fresh approach after that. And I don't want like it to be overexploited. I don't want it to be ruined. I understand there's risk, and it could blow up in our faces and fuck up, but it can't go on like this. As popular as the last two have been, there's going to be a sharp downward trajectory if they keep going like this.
Who would you like to see take over?
Don't give a shit. Just sell it somewhere. Don't give a shit, genuinely. Not Fox. Disney would be fine. A lot of people talk like that would be a tragedy, but I think they'd do fine. Because what Disney have done is given quite a lot of independence to the studios anyway.
They sell it properly.
Marvel films haven't changed since they've gone to Disney. Pixar films haven't changed since they've gone to Disney. But I'm not sure Disney would be quite the right fit. Because, Bond is still a drinker and shag merchant. Maybe it would be better going to Warner's.
Yeah, they clean.
I mean, Warner's did fine. Warner's did fine with Harry Potter, and they're starting finally to get their act together with DC. So, and they've had plenty of franchises over the years. Yeah, Warner's might not be a bad bet, but I just want someone who can do a bit more than a film every 4 years and utter radio silence in between. That's all. It's not that they've done a bad job, but it's getting worse.
Universal will be quite good.
I don't know what else Universal do, but they've done Bourne, haven't they? I can't think what else. Oh, yeah, they do. That's another example. Logistically, those films must be a nightmare, and they're big casts, and they get them out a lot fucking faster than Bond films.
Is it like, they've done that every 2 years, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, there will be a 3-year gap this time. The next one is 2020. But even then, 3 years I'm not complaining about. It's just slipping more and more and more. And I think, well, what's the end game? You've got two people getting older. One a lot closer to old age than the other because he's in his 70s. And I just think, well, it can't endure. And they don't know how to... Exploit's a horrible word because it puts fear into people, exploit. But they don't know how to make the most of what they have. Because the home releases are rubbish. I mean, Becca, what was the Spectre disc like?
A bit pants.
Oh, God, yeah, that annoys me.
Like, fucking give it to someone who knows what to do with it.
Yeah, it's very extras light.
Yeah.
That's always annoys me about some of these, like, no deleted footage, and you think about all the stuff that...
Yeah, there's no behind the scenes, and it's all stuff you've seen already, or was available on the 007 website, so, well, that's not extra content, is it? You want something that you haven't seen before. Making of documentaries, interviews with cast and crew, talking heads.
So back on the point, Sean Connery's currently on a date with Hilda Ogden, it appears.
Here we are now, meant to be kind of obviously in Pinewood, but meant to be on the bus first.
Yeah.
But it's clearly in Pinewood.
As back projection goes, though, I've seen far, far worse.
Doctor No was pretty poor, but obviously then that was 1962.
This film's pretty poor at the end, but this isn't so bad.
I've seen worse in The Room.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Talking to this.
I have to go and see a Disaster Artist to see what's going on with that one.
That's not good.
I really can't wait to see that film.
That's pretty poor. Yeah. Like a hybrid.
I keep thinking like he's just going to go whoops and it just falls in.
Yeah. Like, bloody hell.
Like, all right, I'll try and remember what you said.
I'm always really...
I love this because I love it. It's like, make love, day and night. Get on with it.
Day and night. Tell me about the mechanism.
He's the best Bond at separating business from pleasure.
Yeah, he'll get you all the info. Whereas Roger just mixes the two.
Rolls your beer, I'll quickly bend over then. We'll just really...
This is quite a funny scene. I like this one.
I love this scene.
Alright, Penny, that's all.
Not quite.
Yeah, no, I'd go about the back doesn't. Pipe, bloody hell.
I know, I've never tried a pipe.
No, me neither.
I never
Reason
will.
of being asthmatic.
I can't imagine you smoking a pipe.
No, I can't, no. That's what an M in Tokyo. Oh, wait,
I can, but only if she's wearing a flat cap. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. That's all. Everyone out.
Alright, that's all. Ladies out, thank you. And she's listening on the other line.
Amazing to think he was drunk most of the scenes he ever filmed. What a pro, eh?
He's obviously a high-functioning alcoholic.
Well, I say what a pro. It's not that professional to turn up drunk in the first place, but to be
no,
able
but it's
to
high-functioning,
film through
so.
it. Yeah.
But it was that good.
It got even
He's that
worse.
good. He can act sober.
It got worse in the 70s because somewhere around, I think it was 71, something like that. I think his wife and a child died in a house fire, and he really sunk into alcoholism then. So by the time sort of the Moore era, and if you watch some of the Roger Moore films, he's noticeably a lot more pale in those.
He has to wear a lot more makeup, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
It looks really made up, and it's quite obvious.
Yeah. I just like Bond strolling around being cool as fuck. And I mean, I know several of the Bonds have been around the same height, but bear in mind, Sean Connery was that height in an era of lower average height than now. So he always looks such a tall, commanding presence in a room, doesn't he?
He does, definitely.
Well, he's a movie star. He's got screen presence, so he just commands the screen.
Yeah, definitely. I remember being asked when I worked in a pub if the clock was correct, and I genuinely thought they'd said, "Is your cock erect?" It's not a badump, that genuinely happened. They were a bit surprised by my answer.
Oh. Is he?
Given they were effective,
like this.
Yeah, given they were effectively asking me the time.
Yeah, but I don't mind, I always walk this way.
Well, he sure showed him.
He's just...
Do you reckon we're going to get, like, not be nice, have a nice chilled out Bond film? Like, I just say we just, like, does a lot of just...
strolling around being cool.
Looking at evidence, figuring out stuff.
Yeah, I know, we won't, though. They're determined to throw... But every time you hear, well, certainly in the Craig era, you'll hear him interviewed and he said, our first thought was, how do we top the last one? And it's like, there's your problem. That's why Bond films get more ludicrous through an actor's run. And they also say things like, we start with what's happening in the world today. And it's like, well, that's why you can't get scripts arranged. Because you're trying to write it like it's Drop the Dead Donkey or something. You know.
You've got to look at South Park, haven't they? Because they make it, obviously, weeks up until, but it's still bona fide and it's still relevant. So South Park can do it, bloody Eon can do it.
Well, I just think, no, they can't. That's the point. It's like, well, they'll write, the next Bond film, will, provided he doesn't get impeached or something, will have something vaguely Trump-related in it, probably.
Or Putin-related.
All the stuff, I was a civil servant, back towards the end of the last decade, all those files went missing. Discs would go missing on trains and stuff like that. Lo and behold, Skyfall comes along and, like, a load of information on agents goes... Exactly, and I just think, like, I almost think quit doing that.
Really?
Unless you could do something a bit more timeless, because that's how they've ended up so hand to mouth.
I think our Bond fan community could actually write a pretty good Bond film.
Oh no, I mean, for all my opinion, don't give it to the fucking fans. Really don't. I mean, look when they say who should be the next Bond, and you get the same 5 or 6 really tired names, all of which would be shit. Or they're too old.
Well, no, if they were to keep, like Daniel Craig, for example, keep
Fassbender, Elba,
Fassbender, Tom Hardy,
Hiddleston.
And it's just like, Fassbender would have been brilliant, but he is getting too old now, and I don't know that he'd want to do it anyway. the others are wrong for it. I mean, Tom Hardy's 5'9". How short are we going to go?
Me, I can be Bond.
It's just
How short has Bond been?
Well, Daniel Craig's the shortest at 5'10"-ish, but they're normally 6'1".
Bond on the Orient Express.
And it's not that, I mean, you can mask heights and there's things you can do, but there comes a point where it's like, that's a mismatch.
Tom Cruise.
You know, and also he would be too old anyway by the time it's next available. And then someone will say, yeah, but Roger Moore started at 45, and it's like, yeah, but he was too old. And in the first view, he looked supernaturally young for his age anyway. You know, it's just, you get fans of don't know what they want. If you put, I bet Spectre, I mean, not the stepbrother bit necessarily, but an awful lot of what was in Spectre would meet a tick list, where we got the gun barrel back at the start, and then we got this, and then we got that, and Spectre come back, and we see what happens to Mr. White. A lot of it's in execution anyway, but the last thing I'd want is it to go out to, like, democracy. Because, you know, most people don't know what they want. They only talk in terms of what they already know. So, I mean, the next Bond might be someone we've never ever heard of, but if you gave it to the fan community, it would be like Tom Hardy or something. It's just, no, don't give, fans are fucking idiots, myself included. Do not give it to us. Yeah, by this stage of the film, he's getting very ill, Pedro.
Bless him.
I know.
You wouldn't know, would you?
It's just
he's such a great
incredible
presence.
how he's hidden it. The pain's a very difficult thing to hide.
He's got such a warm presence to him that just sort of like instantly.
Yeah, it's very. We see it again with Draco, like, you know, a few films on. There's always something when he puts the choker chain on it. There's something a bit, I don't know, marking his territory about it. It's
Not cool, Tony.
Yeah.
I wear this one in Piccadilly.
Just places she's heard of.
I'd like to know what.
I wear this one
are.
in the. How do you say? Isle of Dogs.
I just busted
In Cheltenham.
Cheltenham.
I will wear this whilst watching Unbreakable in Cheltenham.
I liked how you rolled your R's on. That was funny. Please die quietly. Lazy ass Bond. Bloody hell, get off your seat.
That's always an old school thing to say, isn't it?
What?
When someone's coughing, it's like, please die quietly.
Please die quietly. I had a coughing fit today at work and somebody said that to me. I was like, I'm sorry, it's really dusty. Got on my chest. Like, could you die quietly, please? I was like, fuck you.
Gosh.
But no, it's not nice if you've got a cough, it's not raining.
Yeah, he does look a bit paler.
Yeah.
But it kind of works because it adds to his nervousness about the situation.
Yeah. I mean, actually, he could be quite clammy, if you like. You know, like ill people can be.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, he hides it really well. I'm told you can see him limping at the gypsy camp, and I think I've said that, like, well, it is fact, because I know it to be true, but I don't know if I've ever noticed it or not. I know he had to be doubled in certain shots and so on. That looks like a man you could trust.
Yeah, it's a very trustworthy chap.
Reminds me of that guy in what's he called?
What? Pencil striped suit.
He's like what's he called in Dad's Army?
Oh, Spiv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've pissed everyone off by all our Conservative fans off by saying Eon should sell it. I'll double down. Dad's Army is the most overrated sitcom in history.
I'm sure I can think of another one. I'm sure there's like a beloved sitcom that I just think
it's all personal opinion, isn't it? But
it really is. It's like anything. It's like
and things date. So there are things that I don't necessarily still enjoy or even have ever enjoyed, but I can see it. I can go, yeah, I can see how that's really good. Steptoe and Son's a really good example. I struggle with Steptoe and Son. It's dated, and also he looks so dirty. I can't watch it. It's like
that's the whole point.
I want to have but I want to sit in a fucking bath while I'm watching it, cleaning my teeth. It's like, but I can see it's fantastic.
If you watch A Hard Day's Night, they actually play a lot on the Dirty Old Man's persona.
Richard Lester.
Yes.
Director of Superman 2 and 3.
Yep, Hard Day's Night.
Once again, public information, smoking is cool.
It was acceptable in the 60s.
It was.
It was acceptable at the time.
Likely not lit or real, because...
No, I think it's just a fake cigarette.
Because, there's no smoke, obviously.
Well,
but it must be ash. Oh, there is, sorry.
Yeah, does it look real? I don't know.
There'd just be ash going everywhere, unless they're like... one of them special movie cigarettes.
Well, because I know when Dermot Morgan died, Father Ted, I remember thinking, well, he was a smoker, but apparently every cigarette he smoked in that wasn't real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dermot Morgan was not a smoker. Which is quite good, because he did convince me he was fucking desperate for a cigarette. Lovely facts. Remember that?
That was such a funny episode.
What did he die of?
A couple of days before his 46th birthday.
That was really sad.
He was no age, he had a 2-year-old kid, but he was working himself to the bone, and he was very high stress. And I suspect there was a genetic element too as well.
Father Ted, that was a fucking great sitcom.
Father Ted only finished shooting like a few days before.
Then when Father Jack died, that was a few years.
That was only last year.
Yeah.
He'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's, I think.
Was there sort of like a decade in it or something like that? There was like...
Father Jack died like 2 decades afterward. Dermot Morgan died in 98.
Yeah.
But a couple of days shy of 46. It was a shock. Because the series hadn't aired by that point either. That's how recent it had been.
Mm. Yeah, because I remember it being released, and it's like, well, he's already passed away, so it was kind of. But was it always going to be the last season anyway?
I was only reading about it a couple of weeks ago. It's worth reading. His partner was talking about, because he'd been unwell, excused himself, went to the bedroom, and she said, thinking back, he had a small heart attack there, and then he went back, apologised, and had a mammoth one. It was quite an uncomfortable read, actually. But for those of you listening who've not heard of it, or have heard of it but have never seen it, Father Ted is the same writer who went on to later, or one of them, went on to later do the IT Crowd, which I know had a bit more worldwide sort of appeal. It was made in the 90s. There were 3 seasons of it. British seasons, though, it's only like 6 episodes. So it's about 18, 19 episodes with a Christmas special. And it might be one of the purely funniest sitcoms I've ever seen.
Got better as it got on as well, I think.
Yeah. Although I have to say, it'll be remembered chiefly for them entering the Eurovision Song Contest with My Lovely Horse.
And
Take
for
me,
making
Sugarlove Baby, you know you want it. Dougal, I think we ought to say it on the whole area of being in love with the horse.
And also, it did make Graham Norton funny.
Father Noel Whelan, was it?
That was it, yeah. I still think he's quite funny, but
This bit here where he slaps her, this is tough.
I don't like this bit at all. And they basically, she's like betraying him, but
Liar!
Yeah. No, I don't like that part.
Well, it's a controversial view.
Controversial?
Thing is, people would lose their shit if they put that in a film now, and I understand why, but in context, that's an enemy agent.
and his colleague or friend has just been killed, and he's like, right, okay,
in a plot that he
I need answers.
I think it's still shocking, and anything like that. I mean, I went
to be shocking.
I go to local film, Andover Film Club, and our film was Maudie, so the biopic of Maud Lewis, and that's kind of set like 20s, 30s maybe. And there's a scene very early on, like when she meets Everett, and he's kind of like this loner, just living in his little hut basically. And he's just taken her on as a housemaid, and they disagree over something, and he slaps her, and literally everybody in the audience went, "Oh!" There was an audible.
I wouldn't want it to be acceptable to the point that we weren't shocked. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No.
But I'm saying that the immediate people are getting very bad now at keeping it in context. And I don't just mean that it was made in the 60s. I actually mean what's going on in the film. If you put it in a film now, it would be immediately, that's a bad man. And it's like, no, that is an enemy agent.
Yeah. That's a very effective scene where he's just following him behind.
It's a very effective scene.
Well, you see his reflection in there as well.
I mean regardless of the context, I just think anything like that is still verboten for me, I'm afraid. But it's still...
I don't think you mean verboten, but anyway.
Well, I just don't like it.
Well, we're not meant to like it, but I can totally defend it being there.
Oh no, for sure. But you just think, but
by the time we get to Majesties and he slapped her, in the context of that scene, I was like, no, they should have found a different way to do that.
Yeah, I don't do that. But yeah, they're effectively an enemy agent because she has betrayed Bond.
And by the time Roger Moore does it, I think, fuck, are you having a laugh? We're into the 70s by now.
And plus it's Roger Moore, so then it's exceptional circumstances.
Yeah, it's just Roger Moore didn't like doing it, and to be honest, it didn't suit his Bond anyway.
No.
Your dad's dead. Bye.
One of his many, many sons.
The ones he knows about as well.
Yeah, the ones he's aware of.
Yeah.
He's got a very big family.
Yeah, such a incredible to think that guy's been dead 54 years.
That's very sad.
His son was in License to Kill as the
he was the
president of City.
Yeah.
He's dead now, so he's probably got a different president.
Yeah, Hector Gonzalez, the 20 million.
See, that's quite a moody non-Bond shot now as we go forward. You wouldn't get that in Bond films now. Well, you wouldn't have got it in any of the Bond films that followed. He's not in the film that much, really, is he?
No.
Who, Red Grant?
Yeah.
No, not really.
I mean, he's there.
But he's a presence,
I was going to say, all the scenes he's not in, he's there because he's on the train. But you know what I mean. His screen time's not a lot.
Yeah.
If only he knew what to order with fish.
Everywhere we go, like on the JVR meetups and everything, very often there is the veggie option or it's fish. So I'm like, I don't quite have to have the fish option. And it's like, are you going to order the red wine? I was like, no. You need to tell your communist agent.
Piss everyone off.
Yeah, so would you like the white Chianti? No, I'll have the red kind.
That is, you should have whatever you want, to be honest with you.
That's a Russian agent's weakness, that, isn't it?
Red wine with fish.
It's like, just can't say no to red wine with fish.
That's how you tell they're a Russian agent.
And he just knows he's a wrong one.
Yeah, definitely.
That hat doesn't suit him.
Oh, that's weird.
What? Yeah, it doesn't suit him. He's the only one in that scene wearing one.
But it kind of works. It kind of works. It does kind of work, and it kind of.
That's for the persona of his character.
Don't trust him, Bond.
Trust him. He looks dodgy with a hat on. No,
But it's also how he comes out sounding like nothing like you expect him to.
Yeah, hello, how are you all?
I can't tell you what his real voice sounds like.
Like Quint in Jaws.
Well, not in this, no. Cause
I mean, the actor, yeah. I can't tell you what he really sounds like. I will have seen him in other things, but I can't readily bring it to mind.
Yeah, there's a bit of dubbing in this film as well, I don't know.
It's Olga Kurylenko's birthday on the day of release, so that'll give listeners an idea when we recorded this.
It is.
Well, maybe she should have done a
Maybe she should've
quantum commentary.
She's filming Johnny English 3 at the moment.
Oh, they're doing a Johnny English 3?
Yeah, because the second one was so good.
I think the second one was actually better than the first, but...
I thought the second one was terrible, but... I mean, they're watchable enough, you know, it's okay, but...
Guy in the second one. Because he had John Malkovich.
That was the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Pascal Sauvage or something, I think he was called. Can't remember who the guy was in the second one. If it was a guy, I can't remember much about it.
Yeah, his evil plan was to become King of England.
That was the first
and
one.
have, like, power to take it. It was like... Yeah. Which doesn't make sense, because, like, well, the Queen doesn't have that power. I don't know.
Well, technically the Queen owns all our land.
Hmm.
That was the plot, I think. But even so, it doesn't really work. Just look at this.
No, I was thinking about this. I've actually been in one of those trains where you have a sit-in bar and restaurant.
I've eaten on a train. I have, and I don't just mean I've gone and got like a fucking burger or something. I mean I've had a sit-down meal on a train. When I was in the civil service.
You guys ever been on the Orient Express though?
Well, surprisingly not.
You might have done, I didn't know.
What? And Chris? What? So Chris will have been on it, but he didn't eat anything.
You can do trips, like you can go like between London and Kent or something, for example. You haven't got to go Venice.
One stop, he did like Manchester to Salford.
That'd be quite good. You could do that. I'd quite like to do that. That'd be interesting.
I mean, I haven't been on anything as posh as that, but I've been in first class on a train in the dining car. And it was really good. They do a really, really good job.
I think it's amazing considering it's such a tiny little space. I've been on the Orient Express, but
I managed to get impressively drunk as well. So
well done.
Good times. Seeing as I don't do that no more.
I'm actually on the train between Cairo and Luxor. That was an experience. Yeah, it was kind of a very rocky journey. But how they did everything like in such a small space.
That's the thing. Their kitchens are tiny.
Yeah, but the meals are amazing. So. Yeah. You're right. You're all being.
He spotted him do that, as we later know. Yeah.
She drinks it anyway.
Well, she didn't spot it.
No, I know, but you just think, oh, it's laden with them.
So it's just when you said she drinks it anyway. It's like, well, no, that wasn't the issue. It was the fact that he spotted it and didn't do anything about it. So I don't know how he thought it was going to play out. But yeah, Lottie Lenya was 83 when she dies, which means she was about 65 when she made this, or when it came out anyway. She was born in 1898.
Yeah.
She'd be 119 if she was still alive now.
Genau.
She died of cancer. Married 5 times. Impressive.
Oh, lucky her.
Well, that's 5 divorces. Well,
or
actually,
unlucky.
3 of them died, so...
She got to keep the money.
And then we get to the infamous fist fight.
Yeah.
Would you say Red Grant as the best henchman, or would that be something like Odd Job or something like that?
Best is interpretive. I mean, if you listed most recognisable, it would go like Odd Job and Jaws, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Trying to think of other really memorable ones. Knick Knack would be remembered by a lot of people. Less so as years go by. But, you know, in the 10 or 20 years after that film came out, he was very, very well known.
Mm. Hinks was a wasted opportunity.
Hinks was a huge
Really wasted opportunity. I'll see what he does with those sun spikes.
Well,
I know what he does, but I want to see music.
We did see music.
Did the but you know, see kind of more.
We didn't get much of him, no, we didn't.
No, that's my point.
He basically does a Roy Batty, really. That's what he does.
He does, pretty much, yeah.
Which is funny, because the guy we're looking at now looks way more like Roy Batty. But yeah,
Rutger Hauer would have made a great Bond villain.
Rutger Hauer? Yeah,
Rutger Hauer. Yeah.
Wasn't he considered for Max Zorin?
Maybe.
Fit that profile. But he also considered David Bowie in Sting, so...
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, actually, it's been a while. I say it's been a while. Silver was pretty good, but we haven't had an abundance of brilliant villains in the latter half of the Bond series.
Yeah, which is disappointing. Seeing the last one was Christoph fucking Waltz playing Blofeld.
Yeah, I mean that should be a fucking slam dunk, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Is he not coming back for that? Is he?
I don't believe anything. That
I don't believe any
on the
crap
subject,
that he says.
He said no, but we'll see.
We'll see. I don't believe
what that tells me is if he comes back, there'll be an element of surprise within the film. That, like, oh my god, it's Blofeld!
Unlike last time, Spectre.
Despite it being, with him being cast or some sort of obvious sort of plot development that kind of says, well, yeah, it's
they just got it all wrong. Build up to it over a number of years. They shot their wad in one film and now they don't know what to do. All that effort to get the rights back, it's just... It's not that I think the film was bad. I said some positive things about it, but as a strategy, this is part of the fucking problem that I was talking about earlier. Yeah. There's no strategy. You've got Spectre back. How do you want that to unfold over the next few years? That's not even about the specific plots of the individual films, because if something happens in the world you want to reflect in the third film of that series, you can either take a break a la Goldfinger, where there's no Spectre in it, or you can sort of change the MacGuffin of the film, if you like. But where was the arc? They just spunked it up the wall in the first film. And now there's no slow reveal. There's no, creeping Spectre. No pun intended. It's really, it's a shame. There's no strategy.
They could have introduced it with the first Bond. Well, the first one, I mean, like, the first Bond when they introduce...
The thing is, they love Daniel Craig, so they wanted to use their signature villains with Daniel. I get that. I get why they did what they did, but they just painted themselves into a corner. And I understand the live for today thing. You still put all your effort into a film, but you've still got an overarching idea. Maybe, but no. So, yeah, I don't know if he'll be back or not. I really don't. he says no. That's
The element of surprise will be whether or not he's bald.
Oh, I couldn't give a shit about that. There's no reason he needs to be bald.
He's going to look like Arnold Rimmer in the latest series of
Blofeld.
Before he turns into his
Blofeld is bald far less than he's got hair. Because you see his head in From Russia with Love, he's got hair. I can't remember if you see it in Thunderball, but I think he's got hair there. In the next two, he's bald. He's got hair in Diamonds, and he's got hair in Spectre. This whole thing that he has to be bald is utter shite.
I think it's just so they can fit in with the kind of the stereotypical.
But Blofeld in the book is not reflected in any of that anyway. So
no, you didn't like that. So
the scar was enough. Even that was pushing it. But yeah, the scar's enough. The scar.
Let's make Shatterhand's Garden of Death, and we'll be happy.
Yeah. Part of me just thinks fucking Khaled.
It will probably be called Shatterhand as well. I
would
still
explode
think on your original prediction. I'd be like, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I did say that long before it was talked about. But
I would explode with delight.
I couldn't give a shit, to be honest with you. I kind of think part of me thinks just ignore the last film. They won't, but part of me thinks just ignore it, because there'll be some convoluted bollocks to get themselves out of it. And if that's what Christoph Waltz is going to do as that character, don't bother bringing him back.
And that's Dave's hot take.
Yeah.
He wasn't terrible. He was just bland.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh god, that's
poorly written.
Yeah.
Poorly written, and I don't think he really cared that much. Mind you, we just talked over a scene. It's actually quite tense.
There's tension there, but they're into it now.
A good 5 minutes of.
How's he going to get out of this?
Yeah.
I'm not a great one for the good old days, or kids today and low attention spans and all that. I think there's plenty of good cinema made now, but I think scenes like that are very difficult to get away with in action films now. That creeping suspense where we don't know if it's going to break out into anything or not. That's wonderful.
Oh, she's not even waking up. Wake up!
She'll wake up in time for bumpy cuddles.
Think of the list of Bond on a train scenes. This ranks number 1.
Definitely.
Because even by today's standards, it's still very tough.
It's good. It's good by today's standards. They would do things different, but it's good. It's good. I think nostalgia plays a part, but this holds up because I read people going on about Jaws with Bond, and I don't think that was a very good scene at all, because all he did was grab him by the neck and just sort of push him into the ceiling several times. As fights go, that wasn't up to much at all. The Hinks one was okay, but it was fairly well done.
So in the old days, I always missed the fact that he actually strangles him with his own guat.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the ITV cut, but I thought, what? He just stabs him in the arm and that's it.
That could be it, He stabs him in the arm and he's dead. It's like Taken, the version with Taken 3, I think it was. The version or was it Taken 2? I forget which now.
Well, the version we got badly. In cinemas.
Yeah, it was a PG-13 cut, but it meant that it made no sense. So you'd have people dying from sitting down, and it's because in the longer cut they were impaled on something.
Yeah, I think it was like
really
one of the guys towards the end. He just sort of leaned his arm on his face.
He's dead.
And you're thinking, what was that?
Mind you, Diamonds was a bit like that. He pulled him on the arm and he's knocked out. Whistle hooting.
Yeah, and I always felt sorry for this guy, but I didn't realise he was actually a Russian agent as well.
Perhaps that was the only place he could get work. Perhaps he really wanted to be a lumberjack.
That's okay.
That's okay. So is the Orient Express then like really, really expensive luxury, even today?
I don't know. Never been on it.
Really?
It's got a lot of flowers though, isn't it? Oh, he's taking his belt off. What are you going to do, James? Oh.
That's me to know, you to find out.
Oh, he's resting on a nice bed of flowers.
We'll skip over the fact she's vulnerable to any passers-by.
You never see any leather-clad henchmen these days, do you?
I don't know, do we? I feel like that's the sort of thing we would see in fucking Taken, big fucking leather coats. Say it with flowers.
Unless they're like on a motorbike or something. But...
This goes on.
They couldn't look any more like Nazi-ish if they tried.
This goes on way too. Yeah, mind you, it's not like they got to stop in mid-air at customs or anything. They'll be alright.
This is way before the thought of putting rocket launchers on the.
This goes on
helicopters.
way too long. That is basically north by northwest. Except that was a plane. It was like a crop duster. I've heard it said on podcasts, and I've probably said it myself, that it's almost like they've hired it for a day and it's expensive and they're going to get the fucking most out of it.
Yeah, exactly. We've got this chopper, let's just use it. Do what we
How
can.
many times does he do that? It's just...
Wait, which is our little Nelly now? Isn't the scene that crops up on in the credits for Goldfinger? It's one of the scenes that's projected onto her body and it doesn't appear in the film.
Yeah.
That's on there, as so is the... No, there's another scene. No, I think that is the scene. I was thinking of the golf, but the golf is in Goldfinger. Yeah. For years, it was... I mean, because there's a bit of a cliche of the fans, casual viewers like Goldfinger more than the fans, and this is like, you know, thought of as one of the quality films in the series. It was almost heresy to say this, but I am absolutely sure now I prefer Goldfinger to this. I think they're both terrific films, but I do prefer Goldfinger to this. I have a much more enjoyable time with it by and large. But it's top tier Bond, there's no doubt.
Mm. Was this in your top 10?
Yeah, it was fifth, something like that.
Oh.
Fifth, I think.
So I can't remember. But
You put it sixth.
I think it was in.
You put it sixth. Yeah.
Was it sixth?
Because you and I had the same sort of top sixes in slightly different orders. You put Daylight's fifth, and I put Daylight sixth. So we had 5 and 6 the same, but the other way round. We all had 4.
Casino Royale and Majesties were
our top 3s were the same, but we had our top 2s were the other way around. Becca had the second.
I did.
Yeah, then get on the boat and have a shag now.
Yeah, we've got German Gold.
Yeah. Got they've got a sex tape as well. They don't make any money out of it aside from the sign of the times.
If only they fall
you
ahead.
Come and join in, but you got to keep your hands to yourselves.
This scene.
So are the based on a lake, aren't they?
Hang on, what, Becca?
This scene, like this boat chase scene, this seems a little bit redundant to me. Especially on quite a big lake as well.
I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm just wondering where is it they get and where all those other boats come from.
Somewhere else on the lake.
It is. There we go. In you go.
Oh, at least he released his hands.
You bastard. Where are we going? Over there. Venice, but not before your chums turn up.
Give me those chances. I was in the Navy, you know. There is much more of a tie to his naval past in the early films than there is.
Yeah, you don't get it so much now.
Well, an awful lot of them finish on water. A number of films he ends up getting, copping off with some woman on water.
Water, exactly.
And of course, Sean is one of the few to wear the uniform as well.
Oh, it's got the camera kind of tilting.
That hat he's holding would not suit him with what he's wearing there. He's having a day out at a black tie cricket event or something.
It's a sort of come in looking smug, really. I have a plan. I'm going to say it looking smugly.
I've got a plan, and it's as hot as my pants.
Cool. Deadly. Oh, this is where he gets it. Here's another one. So sweaty.
I hope that was pre-arranged. Like, Blofeld now doesn't go, oh, man, kick her, you stupid bastard.
Oh no, I changed my mind.
I was just telling her off. What about that? Didn't you realise? I don't tolerate failure. Number 3, her. Oh, well. He had tickets to a black tie event as well. Andy was into the semi-finals of the chess.
I mean, what am I going to tell his mum?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's funny. I've always thought it was Blofeld kicked, but the way it's shot.
Yeah, I know. Just call Gogol in to watch.
And he got there quick.
Ahoy, ahoy, Mr. Bond. That's literally never been said to
Ahoy,
me.
Mr. Bond. Ahoy, Mr. Bond.
You think I'd get that in a fish restaurant or something, wouldn't you?
Ahoy, Mr. Bond.
Yeah.
But no.
I don't know where this was filmed. It's not the brightest, is it? It got,
I don't know. I'm looking out for Luke Skywalker standing on the end of one of these.
Yeah, it is pretty much like that. Me.
He's got to do something about this.
I've got cans of fuel on the back of my...
Yeah, dump them.
What can I do?
What can I do with this fuel? I don't know.
This is getting beyond a joke now.
I'm getting right miffed. Or as Alan Partridge would say, stop shooting at me!
I've had enough of this. Now stop it!
we should Russian twats with
Russian shits.
dressed in black with lemon
Russian
piping.
shits.
That's it.
Black jumpsuits with lemon piping. Why are the cups wobbling? What's going on? There you go. One shot and that's it.
That
obviously
looks
inspired Daniel. One shot, massive explosion.
Yeah.
One shot, that'll do.
Yeah, Daniel, one shot, Craig.
Play Benny Hill music over this.
Particularly that bloke who went to go one way, fell, thought shit, there's fire there, and then just did the dive off. Like, oh shit! Quick, we're on fire! Ouch! I just washed these as well.
I have.
Oh.
Over again.
I tell you what though, I don't care how many layers you're in, it does take balls to be set on fire for a film.
Oh no. That's a lot of orange juice.
That bottle hasn't changed, you know, that sparkling water.
No.
What was it, Pellegrino?
They've changed their they haven't changed their logo and their design.
I didn't see it. Was it San Pellegrino? Because that's like the famous.
Probably, yeah. I imagine it would have been.
As much as fizzy water can vary at all, I really like it.
Which is made.
How much of that is psychological? Because I know the bottle it came out of. I don't know.
Good, yeah.
Because it's just fizzy
Probably
water,
is.
but I remember liking it.
Quick, get it now.
I've got to find. I've got to find
I'm
new
glad the
addictions. I've got to
wallpaper's
find new
changed.
addictions now. I've given up my old ones.
Oh yeah, how's the veganism? How's the vegetarianism
I'm
going?
not a vegan, but yeah, no, it's
No?
going fine. Well, yeah, going a few weeks in now.
Was she hoping just to sneak out with that?
I think she was.
I think so. Yeah, it's a good job she put the right shoes on, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm not wearing my fucking. I was just gonna grab it and walk out. I didn't realise.
All the things that they could do just walk bond, and in the end they result to petty theft.
Yeah, yeah. Leave that there, you thieving bitch. Some nice.
Well, she couldn't
That
just sort
shot
of
there,
like-
that
yeah.
shot of him there looking up from the phone is used in a lot of stills.
It really is.
Yeah. Always a really clear shot. That room will look great in 4K because there's so much detail in the wall there.
God, that wallpaper, fucking hell.
Yeah.
No.
She is lovely. She pretty much retired, didn't she? A lot of women did in that day and age when they like.
Yeah, she sort of made
married
this and was like, that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of them, they worked. You see them in Bond films, and then 3 or 4 years later, they've given it up for marriage and kids and stuff.
That's it. Yeah, they've had a family or
Yeah.
go elsewhere.
But it was like it was something you did while you were single, and then gave it up.
Also, it's now, expected to work, but obviously then it was expected, you'd have kids, run the home.
Yeah.
Look at her face. It's so smug. Smug bitch.
But yeah. That's not particularly convincing action, but there you go.
No matter what saves the day.
There's something about her kicking out. It's all very sort of, real spiteful kind of character.
It is, yeah, sneaky.
There's no.
You nearly got him up the balls
there.
then. That was quite funny.
I like her. I've always really liked her.
I think she dies a horrible death.
Well, she doesn't. She's just shot.
I know, but I just think that's quite.
I mean,
Just
shooting's as
The
way
expression
to
on
go.
her face, I just think, oh, no.
Oh, I see what you mean. Mind you, that's a bit of a coming face there. Oh, Oh.
It is one of the.
It is very.
It is a bit. Hey, did you notice she looked like she was coming?
In short, right.
Women don't come, James. Don't be ridiculous.
In Japan,
Sean's looking a little bit like.
Yeah,
I don't know, as if
That's
like,
traumatised him.
a bit upset by the whole experience.
He's seen what a coming face looked like, and no regrets he didn't
Oh,
try
yeah.
that.
Well, he's more a lover than a fighter.
He did, yeah, that's very sad.
I don't. What did he die of? Do we know?
Death.
All right, cheers. If you don't ask, you don't learn anything, Chris.
Well, this is it. Let me
Hey.
talk about.
Whoa, us getting off with each other like this reminds me. We got a sex tape. Should we have a look?
We got a 62.
Oh, they're open to film one as well. Look.
60 times all round.
Let's have a look. Whoa.
Let's look at it with 62.
Yep, she's actually sucking my cock. I'll show you.
I'll
This
show
is
you
what
if you
we
like.
did. What do you think happens after that? Because we can't see anything.
That would be so uncomfortable to do. Try and outstretched arm.
Yeah. Not quite the end. It's the
Bond will return. Liver cancer.
Christ. It's got to be, yeah.
1985. Oh, God.
Yeah, but he wasn't an old man. I think he was
No.
in his 50s. Morzini, that's what he's called. Ernst Blofeld? Question mark.
Question mark.
Anthony Dawson's the answer.
But we didn't know that then, did we? So.
No, we didn't.
He
Yeah.
was born Terence Edward Parsons, but his wife, Mickey, and 3 children, Mitchell, Michelle, and Matthew, going all the M's.
Okay. Is this
I just
Matt
think
Monroe?
that's interesting. I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very dated, the song, but I kind of like it.
From Russia with love.
It's got the voice of an angel.
That's all the lyrics I know.
That's 100 episodes of quality voice work
It really is.
that people can enjoy and possibly masturbate to.
Of quality talking.
Quality jibbing on about Bond.
100 episodes. There will be at least 100 more, I am convinced of it. If not many, many more than that.
100.
You sound like that's a really bad idea. Do you want to quit, Becca?
One? But no, I don't. I just think, bloody hell, 100. How did it come to this?
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought it was the suggestion of Christ more.
No, you know what it was? It was just like, as soon as you
Sorry.
said it, it was the kind of sigh Becca gave. Like,
Oh,
Can't believe 100 stats. Most podcasts don't get past, I think statistically,
come on, Becca, we've got all
I
the
think
rest to do.
most podcasts statistically don't get past like the 5th episode.
no,
So-
I did mean that. I didn't mean that like, oh my god, really? You know, I just
Get
like, I was,
to get to 100. And it has
I'm really pleased that we have reached
It's flown
100,
by.
and I'm happy to do 100, if not 200, and many, many more. So looking forward to it, chaps.
This is open-ended now. We started as a Bond podcast, so
We'll die as a Bond podcast. No,
but we'll always come back to do Bond. Even when we run out of commentaries, we'll find some kind of themed Bond stuff to do somehow, now and again. But yeah, so all I wanted to say is thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much,
for
everybody.
this show. It works, and we love doing it.
yeah, I can only echo what they've said. Thank you ever so much for listening, everybody. Everyone who supported us over the short time we've been doing it. Thank you for being with us along the journey, and we hope to do many more.
Indeed we shall. Indeed we shall. We've got exciting coming up, haven't we? So what we're doing after this?
We've got an episode next week, which I will announce. I'll close out the show with that because we skipped straight in order to hit this as our 100th episode. We skipped a Bond commentary between Star Wars and Back to the Future, so we've agreed to do 2 back-to-backs. Chris delayed his choice. I'm going to do my choice. It gives us more of a buffer between heading into what will be a longish series, because it's Quentin Tarantino, and that's at least 9 films, and that's only if we do the ones he directed only, which we'll talk about during the next episode, during some lull, I'm sure. But yeah, we move on to Quentin Tarantino in 2 episodes' time. At the moment, it's looking like it'll be the 9 he's directed to date. We'll do the 2 Kill Bills separately because they were released separately. So whilst he counts himself as having done 8 films, there's been 9 theatrical releases. Whether we add any more to that, we'll talk about offline. But no, I think that it's definitely the 9, which puts it at the longer end of what we do, although we've got longer to come with Marvel. But so yeah, we wanted to do another buffer episode and also keep that sort of run of commentaries coming. So there will be a commentary next week. But in the interim, social media, folks.
Oh, cool! Yeah, you can follow me at Simratrox on the Twitter. Obviously, this podcast co.uk, where I have all posts and all podcasts, which I will update whenever I feel like. So yeah.
You can find me at the Pasty Kid 1976 on Twitter.
And you can follow us at Expected to Talk on Twitter, facebook.com/Expected to Talk. You can also find our podcast on YouTube. Search Do You Expect Us to Talk? And also head on over to iTunes, and if you search for Do You Expect Us to Talk there, and listen to our podcast and give us a glowing 5-star review. Thank you very much. And if you want, you can also email us, expectedtalk@gmail.com. So Dave, we've reached the end of our From Russia with Love commentary. What's next?
Do You Expect Us to Talk? We'll return with a commentary on The World Is Not Enough.
Dun, dun, dun.